Google Colab is a super underrated tool. It's the fastest way to write code. Period. You can use it to fine-tune AI models, validate startup ideas, build computer vision systems, learn how to code, run complex data pipelines, and so much more. Google literally gives you a free GPU to mess around with. It's crazy. In this video, I'll explain why all of the top AI researchers use Google Colab. I'll show you how to set it up step by step and how you can build anything with it. And you can do this even if you are a complete beginner. Real quick, if you are someone who is technical and has experience with YouTube, we want to hire someone to help us with production of videos. So if you want to work with me, make sure to apply. The link will be below the video. Now, to open Google Colab, you can either type Google Colab right into Google and click on the first link, or inside of any Google Drive folder, you can right click, go to More, and click on Google Collaboratory. This will open an empty Google Colab. Now the beauty is that the setup is complete. We don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any environment setup. You don't have to install any packages. You can just get to coding right away. So obviously the classic is print hello world. So now when you run the first cell, there it is. It is the output of the first cell, hello world. And actually in the top right, you can see the state of your GPU. You can see the system RAM, the memory, and which GPU you are using. Now to add a new code block, simply click on Code. And let's do something a bit more impressive than hello world, which is going to be a visual chart. So let's run this cell. It starts by importing three libraries and then generating a scatter plot. And there it is, interactable scatter plot inside of Google Colab. Took 4 seconds to generate. And this is just one of many things you can do inside of Google Colab. Another example is this Colab, which I had running for the last nearly 3 hours, which is simply looping through all the numbers to figure out whether we can disprove the Colab's conjecture. But the point is that you can have multiple Google Colabs open, running in the cloud. So even if you have a 15-year-old shit notebook, it doesn't matter because Google Colab is hosted in the cloud. Now, to understand how Google Colab works, you need to understand the concept of Jupyter notebooks. Now, the best way to explain it is by using Google Colab, which itself is a Jupyter notebook. So I'm going to add a new text cell and I'm going to paste in Markdown. And you can see that Colab converts this raw text into clean formatted Markdown that is easy to read and easy to understand. So as it says, a Jupyter notebook is an interactive coding environment in your browser when you can write and execute code in independent blocks called cells. And this is much more approachable, especially for beginners, right? You can write a single function or maybe sometimes even declare a few variables, run that cell, and then continue to the next one. Instead of having large files with hundreds of lines of code, which can be hard to understand, Jupyter notebooks are nicely separated into these cells that you can execute one at a time. And in between the code cells, you can have text cells with images, with Markdown that kind of explain what is happening. And when you run each cell, like we did right here, you can see the output right then and there. So you don't have to wait for the entire program to compile. You do it one cell at a time and you can interact with it. Oh, and another benefit of using Google Colab in particular is that there is Gemini built in. So if you don't know anything about programming, you can simply type into Gemini in plain English and it will build it for you. But more on Gemini later. Now, if you want to connect your Colab to GitHub, click on the settings icon in the top right, scroll down to GitHub and click on Authorize with GitHub. That way you still have the benefits of version control, but the nice UI of Google Colab. Now, there are countless things you can build inside of Google Colab. For example, in the new society, I'll show you how to build your first AI agent inside of Google Colab, step by step. And this is actually one of our most popular modules of all time. So if you're interested in building AI agents, make sure to join the new society. The link is below the video. But now let's look at a few more features of Google Colab because there's a lot you can do. So obviously, the code cell is the fundamental thing, right? And since it's a Jupyter notebook, it supports 3 languages: Python, Julia, and R. So you can literally start typing code directly into the cell without any setup. So let's do num equals 0, while true, print out the number, and add 1 to it. And when you want to run the code, all you have to do is click on run, and this cell will execute, and it will keep running until that code is finished, obviously. This is an infinite loop. Now, if you're not happy with the output, you can click here and click on Clear Selected Outputs, and it will reset the output of this cell. If you want to add a new cell, again, you can click either here, or you can use one of the many great keyboard shortcuts within Google Colab, such as Command M and B. So this will add a cell below the current one. Now, pay attention because an essential concept to understand in Jupyter notebooks is that whatever last cell runs is the state of the variable, right? So it doesn't matter about the order because, we can have a lot of different cells. What matters is the order in which you run the cells. So here, if I'm gonna do print num to figure out what the variable number ended up, it is 1,400,000, right? However, if I then, let's say, add a cell above and I do num equals 5, I run this, and then I run this cell. Now the value of this variable is 5, because this is the last cell we ran before printing it out. Now, if I run this cell now, and then I interrupt it, I scroll back down, I skip running this cell, and I just print out the latest number, it is 300,000. This was ignored because we didn't run the cell. The value of the variable is the last cell that you run. So this is one of the biggest mistakes that beginners make in Google Colabs, is that they don't realize the order of the cells doesn't really matter. It matters what order you run them in. And if you forget running a certain cell, that code basically doesn't exist. So this is another common mistake of beginners. They forget to run certain cells, which is why Google put this big button, run all, which executes all of the cells inside of your Google Colab in order. Now, the beauty of Google Colab and Jupyter Notebooks is, as I said, you can intermingle code with text to kind of explain how the code works or to convince people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. So if you're watching this and if you want to see more of these tutorial videos, make sure to subscribe. It's completely free and it takes like 2 seconds, so do it now. Now, since Jupyter Notebooks support Python, they also support all of the libraries and packages that come with Python. So for example, you can literally watch YouTube videos inside of your Google Colab, which is pretty crazy. Or you can even do interactive widgets and UI in Google Colab as well. So here we have a simple slider that sets a value. And we were able to do this without hundreds of lines of React code. So front-end developers hate this one little trick. Another thing you can do is audio. So you can run this cell, boom, it generates a little audio player. And this is going to be a sine wave, so a constant frequency. Yeah, it's not exactly music to my ears, but hey, it works and it outputs audio right in here. And perhaps the most amazing thing is that all of these are within a single Google Colab. So you can work on large projects where you're testing a lot of different things, you're experimenting with dozens of different functions, different variables have different states, and you can still do it in a clear single place without getting lost. Because all of the code is nicely separated into these cells that each have a distinct purpose. And you can also work on a single collab with multiple other people, where someone's adding comments, other person is implementing the changes, and everything happens in a single organized space. Now, in a moment, I'll show you how you can build anything you can imagine inside of Google Colab. But first, let me show you how you can import projects from GitHub, because this will allow us to build on top of other Jupyter notebooks that people have built before us, which is a great way to learn and improve your coding abilities. So inside of any Google Colab, click on File, Open Notebook, and then click on GitHub. Here we need to give the URL of the GitHub repo. So here I have a repository from a famous book on deep learning. So I'm just going to copy the URL, switch back to Colab, paste it in, boom. And here we can see all of the Jupyter notebooks inside of this repo. So I'm going to select this one, and there we go. It is loaded. Multi-layer perceptron. Now shout out to Frank Rosenblatt, who invented the perceptron in the 50s, 1950s. Yeah, the field of AI is actually much, much older than people realize. But anyways, let's run all of the cells inside of this Google Colab by clicking Run All. This will connect us to the runtime. So Google is allocating free GPUs to us. Okay, I have actually too many sessions, so I might need to stop my Colab's conjecture algorithm. That's unfortunate. It's been running for well over 3 hours. But yeah, if you have a free version of Google Colab, you can only be connected to 2 runtimes at once. If you want to upgrade and have way more sessions or more powerful GPUs, such as the A100 or even Google's TPUs, then you need to upgrade to Google Colab Pro. But we don't need to do that right now. I just needed to kill that previous runtime, and actually I need to disconnect here, disconnect and delete runtime. Now this is actually a very important lesson. Google Colabs are not a way to store data, okay? This is not a database. Usually Colab sessions will time out after roughly 90 minutes, after which all of your variables and all the results of the cells are lost. So a very common mistake that beginners do is that they don't save the intermediate results from the cells. And then when they check their Colab the next day, the runtime has been reset and everything needs to be run again. So let's go back to the multi-layer perceptron Colab, and this one is actually way more impressive because it trains a whole model. That's right, we're going to train an AI model inside of Google Colab, and we're going to do that by clicking on Run Now. So first, it runs the first cell, obviously, and actually, before even doing that, Google allocates us a free GPU. So now we need to import 2 libraries, NumPy and Matplotlib, and some more stuff from TensorFlow. Okay, interesting. So we're getting an error here. So I'm gonna ask Gemini. I mean, I already see that it's a package installation, but I'm gonna show you how you can resolve any errors inside of Google Colab using the built-in Gemini. So I'm gonna say, help me resolve the errors. Enter. And let's put it into sidebar so that it's more visible. Now, what's unfortunate is that Google isn't telling us which version of Gemini this is. And honestly, this should be illegal, okay? Companies should be obligated to tell us what models are being run, okay? Same thing with OpenAI and the ChatGPT Atlas browser. In the assistant, you just don't know which model it is. So you might think you're talking to Gemini 2.5 Pro, but it's some like flashlight version, which is super bad and not good at fixing bugs. So, all right, so Gemini wasn't exactly helpful here. So I'm going to take a screenshot, boom, copy it, go into Vectel, paste it in. I'm going to use Sonnet 4.5, which is a much stronger model. And we'll say, explain why I'm getting this error in my Google Colab. Boom. So inside of Vectel, you at least know which AI model you're using, and we have all of the top AI models. So if you're still not using Vectel, go to vectel.ai and give it a shot. You can get started completely for free. It seems like notebook.utils is not a real Python package. All right, so let's copy this updated code, switch back to Colab, boom, replace this code, and let's rerun it again. And this worked, but we still have the TensorFlow underlined. Okay, so I'm gonna screenshot this as well. Boom, help me resolve this yellow underline. And when I say that you don't have to be a programmer, I'm showing you that live. I'm literally taking screenshots and describing the issues in plain English, right? So even if you don't know, like, okay, this is a library import, right? This package doesn't exist. You don't have to know that. Thanks to tools like Gemini or Vectel, you can resolve these errors in a matter of seconds while still learning about what is going on. That is the biggest part. Google Colab is OP for learning, which is how I use it personally. So I'm going to copy this code, switch back, and I'm going to do Command MA, which inserts a cell above, right? So Command MB adds a cell below, but Command MA adds the cell above. And also Command MD deletes a cell. So those are a few useful keyboard shortcuts that you can use. And really, Google Colab becomes very OP once you learn how to use it fast. So anyways, I'm going to pip install this, and then I'm going to rerun this cell. You can actually start running the cell, which makes it cute. So this will execute when this one finishes. You can see that it's like a loading animation, which means it has been in the queue. And now it executed without any errors or any yellow underlines. So now we can just click on runtime, and we can click on run cell and below. So we will not rerun the cells that already ran. We'll simply run everything else, starting with the cell that's selected. And now we're downloading the data from University of Toronto here, which is essential for preparing to train the AI model. All right, so let's scroll down. Now we're building the model that's been done already. And now the model is being trained, okay? So we're on the first epoch. We can see the accuracy and we can see the loss going down, which is good, which means the model is improving. Okay, and now the second epoch is started. Now, obviously, this is a very small model, like many orders of magnitude smaller than the current cutting-edge language models. But a Google Colab like this helps you understand what actually goes on when you use ChatGPT, when you use Claude, when you use Grok. Those programs are actually not as complex as it might seem. In fact, Ondrej has like a 100-line repo, just 100 lines of code that rebuild a functional language model, right? So the beauty of language models is that you build something that learns. It's not like tens of thousands of lines of code of conditional logic. You build a neural network that learns a certain thing depending on the dataset. And a lot of that work, by the way, is done inside of Google Colabs. And again, I do have to mention that this is running in the cloud on Google's GPU. So you can do this on your phone, on an old laptop, on a shitty PC, in the library, doesn't matter. This is a file in the browser, right? Google is hosting that GPU, they're giving it to us for free, and that allows us to train AI models or even fine-tune them, which actually I did in a recent video inside of a Google Colab as well. So if you found this video valuable and you want to learn more about Google Colabs and how to fine-tune AI models, go watch this video next.